Hey guys, welcome back to Lean by Doing podcast. And today my guest is Will Wilson from Tennessee Cheesecake. We're going to talk about the power of 3S and Will's passion for it. Then we're going to talk about some morning meeting slides, some of the stuff that we borrowed from other places and how we're using those in our meetings. And then we're going to finish up by talking about lean leadership, the things that we did that weren't good then, and now the things that we're doing now that we feel are positive. So let's go. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I am here with Will. Will, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I am a small business owner like Brian. I own Tennessee Cheesecake. I'm second generation. So my mother started Tennessee Cheesecake way back in 1981 and just out of her kitchen. So you really can't do that anymore. So kind of a unique startup circumstance, but she is semi-retired now and I run the business. So I'm the CEO. And yeah, we make all kinds of different custom desserts for clients all over the country.
I came down to Nashville probably 3 weeks ago to visit you. And now you're here in my place in cold Michigan.
Yeah.
Taking a look at my operation.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of a lean tour this morning. I kind of showed you around. I didn't make you clean the bathrooms. You made me clean your bathrooms, but
I cleaned up a little bit after I used it here a minute ago.
That's a standard.
Yeah,
You got to have the walkaway standard.
Keep the rope tight.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, welcome to Michigan. Sorry it's cold. Could have came at a better time, I promise.
I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been fun. We had a really good discussion at dinner last night about a lot of lean things. We talked a lot today about struggles that I'm having on the shop floor and things that we could do to improve our operation. You gave me a lot of interesting thoughts revolving some of the ways that we're doing things. Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, your people are incredible.
Thank you.
Your morning meeting is awesome. I really enjoyed meeting everyone.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
It's just super obvious that people are into it, living, breathing it every day.
Are there anything like when I came and visited you, the morning meeting setup that you guys had was phenomenal. And I actually implemented 3 or 4 of those slides into our morning meeting.
I felt very honored.
They were definitely like, I don't know, they were really engaging at your place. And that's kind of why I brought them home, because I was like, I want to up that level of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones I talk about, like the word of the day, which was basically they get to pick a word and show the definition of it, talk about why it matters. And then the quote of the day was the other one. And they can post a quote of what they like or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it seems small, but I think those little details allow folks to just like insert a little bit of their own personality into the meeting. And that kind of team bonding is pretty great.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since we've gone with your style of slides for those.
Yeah.
And it's
in all honesty, I like stole most of that from Fast Cap.
So yeah, we just keep borrowing it, passing it around. It was. I was excited to come home and use things. There were a couple of Kanban cards, the way you were printing the small Kanban cards from Gemma Docs, and you were leaving them unfolded.
Yeah.
Because when you make those small cards, they're like this big and they're a pain. But to leave them unfolded, I was like a perfect size for some of our products. So all my Kaizen improvement parts are now using those based on what I saw on.
Yeah, that's a pretty good hack.
Yeah, that is a good hack.
It makes it fast and easy to print. You know, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look weird anymore to me.
No, it doesn't look weird at all. I was like, this is genius when I saw it. And I wish I would have known about it before this, because I probably would have used it a lot more than I currently have.
Didn't you feel that way about most good improvements?
That you wish you would have known?
This improvement.
Yeah. 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 You know, we suffer through so much. And then eventually you're like, if only I didn't suffer and I knew this, but you know, you don't know what you don't know.
Hey, there you go. It's a journey.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is really great is that I really feel that your level of leadership is like exceptional. And
thank you.
When you say that, like, we have great people, you also have like very good people. And we've talked a little bit about that, you know, kind of privately, I guess, about, you know, where our cultures are. And when I was in Tennessee, the guys were asking me, hey, Brian, is your mind blown? What are you feeling? What's your takeaway? And my biggest takeaway was like, they're in front of us on the lean implementation side of this. And you always say like, oh, I cheated because I'm a food, so it has to be clean.
Oh, we cheated.
So everything
Most
has
certainly.
to be clean to start with, and everything has to have standards in a way in most cases. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you guys have implemented lean at such a high level. So it's not really, I mean, like you downplay it, but you guys were exceptionally well done. But I was saying like our culture here is just a little more mature. And when I say like mature, it means like there's like a level of like we never question that it's a process problem. It's never a people problem. And there were some times where I felt that maybe you guys had stuff that was still being perceived as maybe people problems.
Oh yeah, you gave me that feedback, and I thought about it, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And I think on reflecting on it, the words that people use sometimes don't get there. Do you ever feel like that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're saying it, but the way they're saying it can feel combative to somebody else, or like, oh, hey, I'm calling you out. Mm-hmm. And that's not the intention.
Right.
Because everybody's new at raising their hand and speaking up at morning meeting is like a new thing.
Right.
And it makes folks uncomfortable.
Well, when you do that, you're also rewarding the people that do raise their hands with attention and feedback.
Sure.
And so there's like a subset of people that get fed by that. And so then they continue to speak up every day and raise their hand because they want to be heard because they're getting this positive feedback. And you have other people that don't want to do that. And yeah, it's a weird dynamic that you put people in that they have never been in before. Mm-hmm. Nor have we really, right? I mean, we're learning as we go as well. So as you saw my culture today, I think you could kind of see what I was kind of.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think the ease at which people just communicate and act as a team without thinking, was pretty cool. I mean, the level of engagement at just little things like stretching, like I mean, you I've said this to more than just you, but like that is something that I think really you can hang your hat on it and say, hey, this is something that means a lot and really signifies a strong culture.
Yeah. I've said it before in other videos, but I was like the unstretching person. Like I thought stretching was weird. And I was like, I don't know, this is kind of awkward. I'm not going to introduce this. So when we rolled out morning meetings, we did not do stretching because I thought it was strange.
Yeah.
And Morgan actually was the one that was like, I'm going to introduce stretching into morning meetings. And I was like, okay, good luck. And then everybody was like, yeah, like this. So it stayed.
Yeah.
And it's become like a natural thing. There's sometimes where I'll do a special meeting when I host and I don't do the stretching because I need the time.
Yeah.
And everyone's always kind of a little weirded out by not having it.
You're like, where's the stretching?
Yeah. And I could see like in your space where you do your morning meetings and the way that you kind of array your people along the walls. And it's a big open space. It's probably 40 feet by 40 feet or so.
Yeah, sure.
And everyone's kind of along the radius of the wall. And it would be really hard to do stretching in that layout because you'd be like on top of each other.
I hope we can figure it out. I would love for it to come from an organic place similar to how Morgan brought it to you guys. Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest ways for new ideas to get inserted into just that peer-to-peer type improvement. And then if they're excited about it, the team gets excited about it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everybody's stretching.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone does it. I mean, all these places, CD Matters does stretching. Like all these places are doing stretching. It seems weird, but it's just like another like part of the lean culture.
I mean, we work hard. Like, our bodies are important. Safety first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think, it's not just symbolic, but people safety.
Yeah, for sure. I gave you some feedback when we were in Tennessee on some of the things that you could do to improve. One of them was, I thought was metal halide lighting, but it was actually your LED lighting that had like hoods that looked like metal halide lighting. Yeah. And I noticed that in different parts of your factory were different lighting levels. In your cheesecake line area, it was really bright and like felt good. And then you got to packaging, and packaging felt like dark and shadow. Like I was telling you, like there's like shadows on where people are looking down. And that was something that I gave you. And then, man, what was the other one? Like,
lots of good ones.
Yeah, there was 5 painting all the walls white because you had like a light tan or a tan color on the walls.
Yeah, it's like the standard color now is like gray, like this light gray color. But yeah, just brighter and lighter, I think is the way to go. Yep. I mean, we don't have an opportunity to put windows in all the facility because a lot of the rooms are interior. And, making the space feel good is so important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important to creating a good work environment, making it as bright as possible. But obviously, like, if you're going to put lights in 80,000 square feet, you got to think, oh, well, what are the key areas? So some of those key areas, like what we've done is like on the baking lines.
Yeah.
Like, hey, quality is really important. You got to be able to, see your work. And then you calling out the difference in the two areas, baking and packaging, was really helpful. I mean, we've already been working on it.
That's good.
So yeah, it's we hilariously have extra lights. I asked and I was like, guys, can we put some more lights up there? They were like, we have some of these lights.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now I'm going to ask you for feedback on what you've seen from this morning. Like, what kind of feedback can you give me for things that you saw that I could improve on?
I think you guys are doing a great job, and the level of intensity which you have attacked this like lean monster is pretty wild. And I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard this.
No.
And I think the magic little twist is to know that you don't have to go that hard forever.
Yeah.
And that you're doing great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the path, and I don't see, honestly, the complexity of your operation in its current form. You really need to put on your internal hat to like think of a good improvement process, improvement for the process. Your actual material flow, and where you're actually creating value and whatnot. But yeah, I thought everybody's just. I mean, it's great, Brian.
Thanks.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks. You did point out that we do a lot of up and down lifting. We have stuff that's on the ground. We have stuff that's not necessarily ergonomic. And I kind of gave you my excuses for why. They're not great excuses, but, we're in the process of implementing an AMR cart, and we had to make sure this cart fit. But at the same time, we're still suffering through it with no resolution. That's not necessarily the best way to go about that either. And the more I get into this, the more I'm aware that I just need to start instead of like trying to maybe make the solution that's going to help us in a year and a half from now.
Yeah. I mean, one thing at a time, right?
Yeah.
I did talk to Brian about that. Your other Brian.
Yeah.
And, the reason that was top of mind is because we did a recent improvement in our mixing area where we added some pallet positioners and to get the pallets up off the floor into waist height.
Yeah.
And, it's just been such an amazing improvement. And this is definitely not free.
Yeah.
And if I were you, I would spend zero money until you moved into your new spot. But I think thinking about those processes is important. Where is the burden? Where's the struggle? Can I do something right now to make that better?
Yeah.
And if you can, you got to do it. That's like our job as business owners. Like, all stop.
When I came to your facility, you told me that you're really passionate about 3S. That's like your thing. And like it's your jam. You're like, I love 3S. It's so good. And
yeah, it's great.
You did like a 3S rally meeting, and then you did your 3S time, and you had like little 3S teams. And I was like, man, this is so much better than my 3S process. And then today I was like, hey, when you get here, I want you to see how bad our 3S is. And
I honestly, I'm not kidding you. I did not think it was bad.
And then they put on a show. I mean, that was the best looking 3S I've seen in a while.
You think so?
Honestly, yeah. It might be because I was out there as well. That always affects. There's no way around that. There's always an effect there. But I was like, dang it, I really wanted him to give me some good feedback on this.
Hold on. You're not 3S'ing?
No, I do 3S, but I've been working in the warehouse.
Gotcha.
So my 3S time has been spent in the warehouse. Yeah, we've been doing the Kaizen event.
Yes.
And then a lot of times I use I usually get here earlier than the 3S starts, and I'll start. And a lot of times I have like these it could be Kanban or Epicor ERP projects, and I'll chip away at those for 20 minutes, and then I'll go out on the shop floor and help clean the warehouse or organize or finish Kaizen stuff. But I haven't really had to go back into production, like what we call behind the red curtain. And that's like the other side of production. And I've just kind of let them live, because I go back there and I get frustrated because it's a mess. We create a mess every single day. Trying to capture the source isn't the easiest solution. And this building, there's a lot of things that we're working with because we know we're moving and we don't want to spend money here. Right. So it's like sometimes it's like a frustration level when you go back there and you're like,
I definitely feel your pain. I mean, we make a mess every day too.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if your 3S team had to clean up after them, like the way that it works is we leave at the end of the day and it's a mess. And then they come in the morning and they start cleaning. You have a team that comes in to clean up the line because of food and safety.
Yep.
So it'd be like if that was left and then your team had to start with that, it would probably look a little different too, maybe.
Yeah, it is that. And it's also the 3S'ing of all of our different pieces of equipment, because we change our lines over a lot. So stuff gets out of place. So what happens on 3S is mostly like the things are not quite where they need to be. And that creates a lot of struggle. So it's not a lot of sweeping, but it is a lot of sorting and standardizing. Because that really slows us down. We do a lot of changeovers. And like if there's a whole set of equipment that's not in its home, you're walking around the plant looking for it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes we struggle to get to the standardizing part because we're spending all of our time sweeping and sorting.
Yeah.
And that kind of stinks because you would want it to be a little more standardized. But standardizing is hard. It's not easy.
It takes a lot of time too.
It does take a lot of time. So a lot of the standardizing that we've implemented, we've done from maybe like a top level or like other people from other departments that have surplus time are helping us to do that. But like you said, when your line's running, you got to make money. You got to make product. You can't shut it down just so you can put a label on
Sometimes
something.
that's the best time to make an improvement though.
Yeah.
You can't see those improvements until you're running hard. The problems don't surface. You can't see the weighting. So a lot of our products literally have to be running at line speed to make an improvement because you're changing the line in a very small way.
Yeah.
To reduce the occurrence of a small error.
Yeah. Looking at the videos that you post now, and you post them into like different groups, and those groups will often, chime in with feedback like, hey, Will, you should try to do this and this and this. And it's so funny that I have a different perspective of this now because I got to see what food and safety requires. And it's a lot. Yeah. And you joked the floor's lava. Anything touches the floor has to go in the trash, be washed, right? And we don't have that problem. So a lot of people are making suggestions that just can't fly in your environment. And I think you kind of stand as like a unicorn in the lean community with food and safety and the regulations and stuff that you have to abide by. So it's funny because I listen to these messages and then I'm like, oh, I know exactly why you can't do this.
Right. I mean, I think you got to think outside the box more. But we have a lot of barriers.
Yeah.
And because, you have to make safe food. So we say our improvement levels are human safety and then food safety.
Okay.
So we have to write that one in. And if it breaks food safety, if it makes food safety worse, then it's not an improvement and you just stop. You don't even get to quality or simplicity or speed. So it's on the same level as human safety.
That's really good because you're taking lean and you're kind of having to do it your way and think of the waste a little bit differently. You think about, the improvement standards a little differently. I think that's really good. And I think it's good that you guys are identifying that you are different than what.
Yeah. One of the first questions I asked Paul when I connected with him originally was like, Paul, are there any other food manufacturers? And he was like, I don't know. I'll see. And, I haven't found one yet.
Yeah.
So, we're definitely few and far between. But honestly, there's a huge wall of secrecy in the food manufacturing industry, and I'd love to tear some of that down.
Yeah.
So,
how?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the platform?
Start with one, right?
Yeah. It's got to be you.
I'll go first.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be you. All right. I want to switch gears here and I want to talk about leadership. And the reason that I want to talk about leadership is I feel that you and I both are pretty good leaders. I think we're very different leaders. And I don't think that we're like completely out of phase, but I think we're definitely in a different phase of each other. I feel like if we were like on a spectrum, like, we're a couple degrees different, but it makes a big difference in the long run of it. We talked a little bit about this at dinner last night. And I wanted to really touch on like, what did your leadership look like before Lean? And what does your leadership look like now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. So it looked a lot different. I mean, I've always been a very kind and gracious boss. We're a family-owned business. We want to have the best for our team, but it was 100% production focused. Numbers, faster.
Yeah,
spare no expense on making more numbers and making them faster. And sometimes that involved employees coming along, and sometimes it didn't.
Yeah,
and I was really centered on myself and the work I was doing to grow the business, or, the focus I was putting on my management team.
Yep.
And, I've just kind of really shifted away from that to really trying to serve and reduce the burden and reduce the struggle that my team faces every day.
I can relate to a lot of that where you said that you focused a lot on your leadership team. And one of the things that I got for feedback from some of my guys when I asked them if they considered me a mentor, I just straight asked them, do you consider me a mentor? Do you want me to be a mentor? And they gave me some really genuine feedback. And it was all surrounded with, I would like you to be a mentor, but I feel that you're efforts and your energy are somewhere else. And I felt like that really kind of ground on me. But then I look back and I think about where I spent time. And I often spent a lot of that time with, 4 or 5 people only, which is less than 10% of my business, or around 10% of my business, was getting my attention where the other people were, just kind of left on their own. So with Lean, I've definitely focused more on trying to feed more people, so to speak, and make more people a priority. It's hard. It's hard. You spread yourself pretty thin. I try to really grow the people below me to try to like help other people too, because there's no reason why they can't also share knowledge. On your core values, you have one where it says no jerks. And you were telling me.
Yeah. I was a hard boss.
Yeah.
And there were times when I was most certainly, without question, a huge jerk. And I have endeavored to soften my approach, and I have chosen not to do this with just words, but with my actions. So that's what I try to do every day when I'm at work, is just show people that I care and to really listen. And, it's not the will show.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's about the team.
I definitely saw that in action, because I was at your shop for like a day and a half, and there were still things that had to go on in business. There were times where people were finding you and basically asking for help, and you were genuinely like listening and trying to help them.
Yeah.
In a
I mean, that's
direction.
been one of the coolest things that I have learned how to do, is like really connect with the team.
Yeah.
And it takes practice.
Yeah.
It really does take practice to get good at it, because people don't believe you at first,
Yeah.
because you're
Right.
like, it's still your business. It's like, no, Will doesn't really mean it, does he? No. And then like a couple weeks later, it's like, oh, I guess he does mean it.
Yeah.
The bathrooms are important to Will.
Yeah.
So whatever that might be. 3S is important to Will.
Yeah. I always said, well, the best description somebody gave me for a long time of who I was that I was the nicest asshole they had ever met. And in a way, I took it like a bit of a pride,
Totally.
that pretty much nailed it. And that's how I operated. It was like everybody walked along a cliff edge, and you were in my graces or you were off the cliff. There's no up and down and where you rank on a ladder. It was all in or this is Sparta. Right. You know what I mean? And that was kind of how I operated too. The one thing that I was really good at was offering transparency. I always have been really transparent. So when we started Lean, people believed me, and my actions always backed what I said. And I never gave them reason to question. So like as soon as I was going, they were like, let's go. If you ask guys around here what I look like now versus what I look like pre-Lean, it's so different. And much like you, where you say no jerks allowed, we used to say there's no assholes allowed.
Right.
Me. I was the only one that was allowed to be an asshole.
Right.
And that's kind of a weird...
Because you knew better.
Well, yeah, I thought I knew better.
Yeah, you knew better.
Yeah.
Me too. I thought I knew better too.
Well, we've done it for so long.
Yeah.
We have the experience. How would anyone else have any idea how to do our business better than us?
Yeah, of course.
And that is the biggest false hope we sell ourselves every single day,
Right.
if that was. I've really focused my energy on including people in discussions. I do not like to make solo decisions now. Where if someone comes to me and says, hey, Brian, what do you think of this? And that's what I'm thinking about. What I'll normally do is say, well, let's go find so-and-so and ask them. And then I'll usually loop a couple more people into the conversation, and then we collectively make a decision. Because what I've found is that collectively we make such better decisions than one or two of us can.
Totally.
And a lot of times you want to it's like making an improvement, and it can affect everybody. And I saw one of these in your factory where you guys were trying to use your... What are they, like logs? Or were they like food safety logs where you're tracking in and out?
Yeah, like a cooling log or some kind of quality log.
So basically you have to show people how long it was been out of baking, how long it was in the freezer, right?
Right.
And they had made some improvements on the line to make their life easier, and it made John, your quality assurance guys.
Yeah, so basically what they done, just to give you,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now. So basically they split the log into multiple logs that happened at the point of use, but that then shifted the burden to our quality department in a very, very burdensome way.
Bad.
It was like really bad.
Yeah.
Like basically it was impossible to
reconcile them,
to audit and reconcile the log, where it had been previously like super duper easy.
Yeah.
Because it was just all right there. It was already reconciled for
Yeah.
you by the operator.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to unimprove that. That's interesting to bring that up because we have made some improvements to that recently, and that process, oven process, by just putting in standards
Okay.
and then retraining.
On the original standard, the original form.
The original form. So we went
Yeah.
back to the original form, and we now have really excellent standards at this particular station at Ovens where we bake things. I mean, we're a bakery. It's super important. And the retraining of that standard basically eliminated all the errors and mistakes that were happening that they were trying to correct with the split log.
That's kind of like where when you make a decision, but you're not thinking of the whole process, that's what happens. And so that's where we've seen it too. And then that's where I've kind of got to the point where like, if this affects, more than you have to include the other people in that discussion, because otherwise you don't know what kind of burden you're transferring to somebody.
Right. Yeah, we tried to do that with a similar process to what Ryan and his team do at Seating Matters, which is like levels of improvement. And that's helpful because like, a level 1 improvement doesn't impact other departments. A level 2 improvement for us is multi-departmental. And if it's multi-departmental, like, no jerks, right?
Yeah.
Like go to the other department and say, hey, we're thinking about doing such and such. What do you think?
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, nope, because of that.
Yeah. What do you think is your best lean leadership tool? Like, what is the one that you use out of your toolbox the most?
Oh, interesting. That's pretty easy for me, just leading by example.
Yeah.
I am in love with doing this every day, and that hopefully that passion is infectious to my team. I know it's been infectious to quite a few of my team members, and it's fun to see them grab it, take it, and love it as much as I do. So no question, just, lead by doing.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had to say what mine is, it would probably be active listening. And it wasn't that I didn't listen.
Yeah.
It's that maybe I like half listened. I have this really good habit where it's like almost like a filter coming in where I hear what's going on, but I can still be doing something else. And then I like marinate on it. And then eventually it clicks and I'm like, all right, I got a solution.
Yeah.
And it could be weeks later, or months later. But how do I expect people to just understand that I'm like marinating on something when they're like dealing with like life and death critical frustrations?
Sure.
And so I would often allow people to suffer with their problems while I was trying to solve it myself. So being able to like actively listen has been a big one for me. That's been like where I really, really stop. And when I did your morning meeting, I threw the quote up there that, you have 2 eyes or 2 ears and 1 mouth so you can listen twice as much as you speak.
100%. Great quote.
And that was like, for me, it was like, oh shit, I really got to do this.
Yeah. You just like pull a great quote out and you're like, man, I need.
Yeah. And so I hear that every day in my head, and I make sure that I'm very attentive when people are bringing me stuff, even if it's not important, because it's important to them if they're willing to bring it to me. And in a way, I have to be like a vessel for that. And I have staff that get frustrated and will sometimes like lash out in group chats or like, wow, my frustrations. And I've been trying to tell them like, do it to me, send it to me. Don't send it in the chat. Send it to me. Vent your frustration with me. But if I don't listen and I don't respect that feedback or whatever it may be, I don't address it, then it just festers. So that was kind of been the one that I used the most, the tool I used the most. So then the question becomes, what leadership tool did you used to use that you no longer use?
That's interesting. I mean, honestly, the expectation, like, oh, hey, I expect everyone to do 5 goals, and then they wouldn't. And you're like, they only did 4. And like, instead of, man, 4 is awesome. Man, you got 4 of those things done. That's incredible. It was the other way around. What happened to number 5? And I think flipping the script on recognition and appreciation was a real, because I thought you only recognize high achievement. Like those are the only ones that get the kudos. And really, all achievement's great. It's all great.
Right. I think there's a fine line between when you can pull the measurables and when you need to celebrate. Now, obviously, we've talked about this a little bit today, but if somebody's pulling 60% of the normal, then obviously you probably have to find out why they're. But historically speaking, when you're just a traditional business and someone's pulling 60%, you say, well, I don't think this person has what they need to work here. So I think maybe they ought to leave.
Exactly. Instead of saying, hey, is there a standard for that particular station? Have we worked through all the what, hows, and whys? And, what is the actual way this work should be performed? Is there any opportunity for improvement?
Yeah.
And if you hadn't done all that, it's hard to hold somebody accountable to a standard you don't have.
The attacking the people versus attacking the process mentality was big for us.
Yeah.
And really, there was a lot of times, every place you go,
I think that's big for everybody.
Yeah. Anywhere you go, it's going to be this, like, they're going to be gun shy because for years you've, attacked the people when the process was the frustration. And flipping that around and then showing people that it really is, that goes such a long way so fast. When you're saying, hey, why did this happen? And then they immediately go into, well, I did my best. I tried to do this the way you told me, and I didn't have enough training. And it's like, no, just slow down. What was the breakdown? And then they're like, oh, wow, like this is, they want me to be successful.
I mean, you can think about it like staffing on a line. Like, I'm working station 1, and you're working station 2, and you're catching all my defects, and you get frustrated at me. And you're like, Will is not pulling his weight. Yeah. And really, there's supposed to be somebody stationed before me, and they're catching those defects. Yeah. And we were just shorthanded, and you didn't know. Yeah. Because there's no standard. Or maybe the line was set up different last time, and this way today it's totally different. Yeah. And, it's just all about standards and processes. Absolutely. I said in the morning meeting that I hosted at the Tennessee Cheesecake, my word was grace. And the reason I picked grace that stuck around for a while. It could. Yes. I'm glad it has. Yeah. It absolutely is like a game-changing thing. And the reason I picked it was the day before I sat there and I watched, and I saw, some frustrations coming out where I felt that people could extend a little grace to each other and it would have solved the problem. Because no one's trying to do a bad job and nobody's trying to screw the person next to them, right? No, genuinely, like if you're making an improvement, it's an improvement attempt. It's not an improvement attempt for me and a de-improvement attempt for you. Right. Everybody's rowing in the same direction. Yeah. And so then it's like frustrating when someone feels attacked because they tried their best and they took a leap of faith to make an improvement. And then next thing you know, so-and-so's mad at them. Right. So yeah, grace was the one that I picked. And I feel like grace, just giving people grace, right? Nobody's trying to screw up. They're here to do their best, and getting to the process problem of it. And that's extending grace. Right. If I had to say like the thing the tool that I left behind would be like withholding feedback. I did a really good or bad job of like selective praise where somebody may do something really good and I wouldn't say anything. It was just they're doing their job. They should make that. It wasn't even improvements then, right? They should be doing their job. And so I didn't really like offer that praising feedback often. However, one of the guys who works for me, Chris Shattuck, he did a morning meeting on employee appreciation. And I was like, oh man, like this is wild. Because like the thought of what people want, it was like 70% of all employees, their most important like thing is appreciation. And after that, it became like money and job security. And it was like 70% just want to be told they're doing a good job. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I've done a really good job now of offering feedback, like positive and negative. Sometimes it's constructive, but they know that it's coming from a space where I'm trying to make them better. But just saying like, hey, so-and-so, I just wanted to let you know that you're doing a fantastic job, and I'm really happy that you've made this progress and these changes, and I can't wait to see growth. Man, they're just like, it's like you're just lighting a fire. Totally. 100%. Yeah. It does take practice though. Isn't it funny how it takes practice to get good at it? Yeah. And it's almost like, in the same bucket as like visual controls and standards, like it takes a while to make them. It also takes a while, it takes time to do this recognizing, but it's so important. Yeah, I agree. Like so important. Yeah. And so like when I talk to places or keynote speaking opportunities, I always think in my head, like I need to talk about this appreciation thing. Yeah. It is a really big tool that I didn't know that I had at my fingertips, but it makes such a world of difference. And now there are people that work for me that make them to other people. Mm-hmm. So they'll like forward me messages from, somebody praising them privately. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. This is really good. And, video messages and voice messages are another thing that we didn't have pre-lean. I didn't, did you? No. And the personal touch that a voice message sends. It's funny to think about it as not having. Yeah. Like they were there, but we just didn't use them, and you didn't see the value. It actually took me a while to see the value.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I mean, I saw it instantly.
I still get weird pushback from other people in the business community who are like, who is this crazy person sending these voice notes? And I'm like, it's because it's great.
It's fast. It's fast and it's good.
Yeah, it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So like a voice note is just so much better than an email or a text.
Yeah, my wife and I historically have texted a lot. It's how we've always communicated. But now I don't want to send text walls. So I'm just sending these voice memos to her, and I know she thinks I'm nuts. And half the time she's probably not even listening to them because she's thinking, I don't know. But it's just like part of what has become who we are.
Yeah.
That when you have to like send a text, you're like, I'd rather just send this in a voice memo real quick.
I used to not respond.
Yeah.
I used to not be able to. It took too much time.
Yeah.
And so, I'm able to do more responding, like 100%. And I think it has more value.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think about for the person who I'm forcing to, I'm forcing them to listen to this voice note. Like it needs to have some value, right?
Yeah. So this year, we both got picked to go to Argentina for the Global Lean Summit.
Oh, yeah,
in
that's going to be
Argentina.
fun, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be super fun.
Yeah.
When I was filling that form out, application.
Oh, yeah.
One of the questions on there were, who are your mentors and who are your mentees? And I had nothing. In my life, I've never had like a certain person that I could like count. I've had like a culmination of people that have come in and out of my life maybe, but I've never had like one solid person that's really like influenced me.
Oh, I think that's definitely true for me as well.
And then from a mentor or mentee aspect, like how active have I been in like mentoring somebody actively? And so I took that as a big challenge. I really did. And I'm trying to put more time into more people and really like check in on them, see how they're doing, help them grow. It's a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, but I feel that it's like something that can like transform a business.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, like I have been doing a good bit of that type thing, and I get so much value from it.
Yeah.
I learn a lot.
Yeah.
So it's the whole idea that like, when you give, you get, and it's so true.
Have you ever just asked them like that, like split up, like, hey, what can I do better for you? Do you consider me a mentor?
Well, some of the things that I do, are like being explicitly
Mentorships. Yeah.
And then I moderate a small business forum, which, and that entails a good bit of mentoring because it just naturally happens.
Yeah. Are there any staff in your team that you could think of in your mind? You don't have to say them out loud that you could be like, I could definitely be a better mentor to.
I think my coaching skills are average.
Okay.
And I think that's a real area for improvement for me. Like real coaching skills, not just like business leader, CEO skills, but like real coaching, because I think that's different.
We talked about this at dinner last night, but we were talking about like leadership. And one of the questions that I often kept myself all wound up on is, I have a leadership team. They've been my leadership team forever, it feels like. But how did they ever become my leadership team? And basically we just created it, right? We just put them in, we said, now you're going to learn. But we have this like gap between our leadership team and the next round of people. And I know they feel that gap, and we feel that gap now with Lean because we want them to step up. But we've done a really bad job of giving them opportunities to experience real leadership things. So that's kind of where I'm trying to focus on, is trying to build up that next level leadership by actually putting people in situations where they have to listen and like the real stuff, like call outs and problems and solutions and customer issues. And, they're now seeing things that they had never seen. But how else do you teach somebody leadership without that?
Arm in arm.
Yeah. It really is arm in arm.
Getting to know folks, figuring out what their strengths are. That's something that I think takes a lot of time. As a leader, it's hard to like break through the first level to really see, because, especially if someone is unaccustomed to having those types of conversations or unaccustomed to interacting with a leader, it can feel awkward. And until you get past all that, you can't really see what they're good at. And then you can help them be better at it.
Yeah.
And work on their weaknesses.
When you say like getting through that crust or that level, I can think of 6 people right now in top of my head that I feel that I think I broke that crust, and they're starting to develop in a way that maybe they never had a chance to. So that's kind of exciting to think about when you say it that way.
Yeah.
I think
It's just getting your hands dirty, right? Getting out on the Gemba and like you know, helping them with whatever small thing they need help with.
Yeah. And continuing to build your team every day and knowing that they're important just as much as the cheesecakes or the bumpers,
Right.
if so more important.
I mean, if you say safety first and like somebody brings up a safety issue and you're not the first one out there with a wrench, shame on you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, I think we kind of got a long ways there. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming up here.
Yeah,
and,
it's been super fun, man.
and having me in Tennessee. It was so fun. My only regret was not bringing another person with me.
Oh, you can come back anytime.
Yeah, because I think that there was so much to learn, and it was just me taking it in. So in my future visits, I'm definitely taking people along because it's easy to travel alone, but the growth that they can get from that experience is so worth it. Like so worth it. So that's kind of like my thing is like when I look at where we're going to visit next or the lean shops we want to go see and meet, I'm definitely taking staff with me.
We'll have a good presence at the annual AME conference this year.
Yeah.
And it was in Nashville not too long ago, and that was awesome. It was before we were serious lean thinkers, but we learned so much.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 or 5 of my operations folks
Right.
went, and it was just invaluable.
Yeah. Being able to see how lean is done other than how you do it in your business is the big key. Like
It's all
change.
different. Everybody does it different.
Yeah. And that ability to show people a different way to do it, my gosh. I mean, it's like me, right? When I first saw this stuff, I was like, what the heck?
Well, and like I love business. So
Yeah.
like just super curious to like learn about other people's businesses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the lean stuff's like a little cherry on top.
Yeah, there's a lot of takeaways, and it's kind of nerdy to be like, I'm going to go on a trip, but I'm going to make sure that I stop and visit somebody that has a lean business.
Yeah, right.
I'm always looking at like where we're going and stuff, and I'm like, is there anyone in the area that I can swing by and introduce myself to?
I like that. I'll have to steal that from you.
Yeah, your wife's going to love it. And I mean, absolutely love it. She's going to be like, listen, you spend 65 hours a week at the bakery. We're not stopping on our way to Florida.
No, we're not going on a lean tour before we stop at the beach.
What about after? All right, Will, let's go play in the factory, as Mark Warren
Hey,
would say.
let's do it. Yeah.
All right, thanks
great.
you so much. And I've been ending all these with a fist bump.
Dude, love it. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe, comment, share, do all those fun things. 5 stars on Spotify, and I will catch you guys on the next show.